What is up, YouTube and audio listeners? Welcome to Plat Chat episode 127. If you're listening to us live or watching us live, we're late. Why are we late? Bren, where are you right now?
I've aged so much in such a short amount of time. Well, I'm in a hotel room in Los Angeles, California, ready to work the first week of America's. I've slept 6 hours in the last 48, and today we had a 4.5-hour story meeting. And so I'm ready to talk about Valorant more. That's what I would like to do right now.
That sounds peak.
You should get on this meta.
Yeah, I don't have a. I don't think I
good.
can stretch my setup up to my bed.
This is good. I'm not gonna lie. This is the life to be lived. We've been in LA for like 2 days now. Thus far, we've already been failed by the pedestrian infrastructure once, and I've seen more highways than I ever have before.
Mimi, your mic is peaking so much. I have your mic like at half. All right, that's fine.
I think I have like plus 20 gain on my side. I'll fucking wake up. I'll wake up and do the podcast and fix my shit.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, rise and grind.
Let's not introduce Seth. We'll talk about what we've been doing first, and then we'll get to this guy on my left.
All right.
Hi, Seth.
We worked all day, and that's why we're doing it late.
Hey, what are you doing?
Seth, what did you do last night?
I went out with Wolf, Tasmo, Aaron,
Oh my.
Paperthin, and Valdez, and had dinner and some drinks.
Nice.
So I'm feeling peachy this morning.
Yeah, you sound it.
Was that to cap off the nice little debut of the Pacific League?
No, it was just to see Tasmo before he went back to the States last night over here.
Nice.
I wanted to see him. We happened to be in the neighborhood that Aaron and the rest of Global stays in, so I invited him out, and it's just kind of a snowball effect, you know. Everyone feeling, Mimi, get out of the bed.
I don't know how. I'm trying to make the bed. I don't know how it works. I'm trying to fix it.
So, for those that want to talk,
It looked unsightly in the background
Just
of the
sleep
podcast.
in the other bed. Just leave that one. Sleep in the other bed.
Well, I'm trying to make this a podcast, not a sleep.
I'm passing
it's
out.
a nice night podcast. Mimi's on her
Let's talk
second
about
win.
balance.
Bren's
Let's
on
talk
her
Rotate
about
the
third.
camera so
Let's
you can
talk
see the
about
other
balance.
one, and then you don't see the messy one.
Did you guys
This
want to talk about
lighting-
Valorant?
I can't believe how like withered I look in this lighting. I just
Look at your room! You look
And
like
the-
you're
the-
retired. Like your family just sent you off to the retirement home. Your girlfriend's gonna knock on the door with her fucking wheel rocker thing.
Her wheel rocker.
Her wheel. What do you call it? A little
do
stroller?
we have the same art?
I remember when we used to do the podcast back in the day. We did it in person, and I mean, it's just not like it used to be. Nowadays, we do it online, and it's not the same, really. You don't quite get the same level of satisfaction out of it, I suppose, with everybody together.
Oh, that's true. That's
How
very
am I
true.
more alive than
That's-
you
I
right
agree.
now? That's the question.
I agree.
So, a lot of stuff has happened this week. You know, the
That's
Pacific League started, EMEA is underway, and this Friday, the Americas League starts. So there's a lot to talk about. But the most important thing we're going to start off the show with is a skin review. We're going to do the skin review as the game loads. The altitude pack, easy for me to say. Are we buying? Are we copping or dropping?
I
I
quite
have not
like
seen this yet. This is
haven't
actually
seen
going to be real first impression.
I cannot wait
Okay.
to see these. If the
I kinda
game
fuck
loads.
with
Mimi's
them.
reaction.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fuck with them when I saw them. I haven't seen them in game yet, but I can imagine they make all sorts of silly. I can imagine they make all sorts of silly sound effects and things.
No! Oh, I'll do it next time. I forgot. I had this like. I made this
This is one
funny
of the
thing
most-
for like the intro, but I forgot to use it the last time I hosted, and I forgot to do it again. That's okay.
Can we just restart the podcast?
This
Just
is one
so
of the
they won't
most
know.
episodes of all time. Of
stay
Plat Chat.
stay cool, Kurt. All right, we got
Yeah.
this. It's time for the skin review.
Noticed yet. Oh,
Oh,
Skin review.
in review.
There it
oh my God,
is.
it's us. We're in game. Wait,
The
this
chat
is just
hasn't
a,
noticed
this
yet,
is
but it
Ray's
makes me
rocket.
giggle when he does certain things.
Wait,
it's
dude.
aeroplane?
What the frick?
Is that a person?
It is
What?
there's
Look at him.
cockpit and everything.
Wait, does
Name
the
that
spinny do the
agent.
spinny when you shoot?
I think so.
Does it do the spinny? Show me the animation. Does it do the
It doesn't
spinny?
have an animation.
It doesn't have a spinny?
Oh, no,
No.
it's spinning.
Why
right
would I
now.
buy it if it doesn't have a spinny?
It's spinning,
Where?
isn't it?
Where?
You can't see it because
No.
the FPS is matching the like hertz rate. So it's
That's
It
not
just
how
looks
that
like the
works.
helicopter's hovering without the propeller spinning.
yeah.
If it's
is it not
matching the
spinning?
rate, then it's going to be a black circle, not a nothing. There's no animation.
I don't
Yeah,
think that's
Phoenix
true.
is flying this. Oh wait, KO's in the back. Is he like?
Oh,
what is
yeah.
he doing? Is he a secret agent?
He's chilling.
Dude,
This
this
is
is
actually
He's
kinda
like,
sweet.
he's like the
How much
gunner
is this?
pilot that shoots
Yeah.
backward for pursuing enemies. You know?
Shoots backward with what?
Well, I mean,
he
that's
doesn't
a-
have
that's a thing.
anything.
That's how you had it back in the day, with like
That's a
an
thing.
older like biplane.
Bren, did you shoot out the back like that when you were a kid?
When I was in the army, we didn't have any planes of those types. We wasn't quite air combat back then, but it's gonna breathe really heavily into the mic every now and
Okay.
then. The same effect.
That would have been the prime time.
Oh,
of
wait, this is actually
Wait.
epic.
These are. I had no
Viper's
idea
just-
that there was little agents
Viper is just
inside
in
of
the
the.
pistol.
Dude, this skin set rocks. $51? I'm fucking buying this shit.
Whoever
Friends
led
buying.
the design on these was off the fucking goop.
She's
these
just
are-
Viper sitting out of a gun.
Yeah, these
Oh my
are
God, wait, this is
absolutely
insane.
batshit insane skins.
Wait, there is a spinny. It was
Yeah,
actually
it
matching
spins
it.
up.
Told you.
That's not a conspiracy
Spins up.
theory. It was actually spinny.
I told you.
Holy shit.
That's sweet.
Spins. Dude, this set
Dude,
rules.
this is sick. I'm not
Oh,
going
I
to
gotta
buy
get a
it.
raised Bucky one as well.
Oh man, these are
Holy-
dope. I'm buying for sure.
I mean, this is a
And
cop.
they're cheap. I'm not getting the
think
knife
they're-
though. This knife is not for me.
The knife is kind of ass.
Not well. What does the inspect animation look like?
I don't
Could
know.
buy it. Test
I think
it.
it's just default. It's just default.
Just
pull
buy
out.
it and get into the game real quick.
I think it's just like a fast default where you like, and then you're like,
Are you guys buying or are you selling?
Are you
What's
buying
going
or
on?
selling? Yeah.
wait, can I see the buddy again?
Buddy.
That's kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
What does that say?
I kind of
Remove
fuck with
flight.
it.
before
Remove before
flight.
flight. It's
Oh.
like the
It's-
like
it's that
little
same
tag that's on a
tag that-
pedo tube.
It's the same thing that you see on like every douche's like backpack at the airport.
Is that a
Always
thing?
have a remove before flight
That's
keychain
a
or
thing?
something. Oh yeah, I know because my brother has one.
No.
I thought that was just like Air Force like bootlickers and like plane people. Is that just like
Yeah,
a
that's my
common
brother.
douchebag thing now? Okay, understandable. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not gonna cop this skin bundle, but if I see it in game, I'll pick it up. It's cool enough to look at, but I think the spinny would be too distracting. But it's not distracting enough because there's
Dude,
no
I
animation
feel like-
to pick it over a different skin.
This is,
I feel like
this
the
is one of those
sheriff
ones
is
where
probably
you're
the most
like,
accurate sheriff in the game.
Wimstone, please swap me skin.
Can I have the Vandal Brimstone?
Wimstone, I want spinny.
Doesn't this sheriff look like it would shoot straighter than any gun in the game?
It looks like a water gun.
Yeah, it looks like
really
a water gun. I feel
does.
like this thing probably just like, I don't know, it comes with like aim lock or some shit.
Holy shit! Imagine
I
having like
feel-
this skin set.
I know
and,
what
like,
you're talking
blast
about
deck.
because I feel that same way about the arcane sheriff. But
Really? I always miss
Yeah.
that thing. It goes fucking wide for me.
To be honest, this gun looks
See,
like the
that one
bullet
I-
would
I hit heads.
fall out of the gun and go into the ground.
you
Seth, are you buying?
You drop the bullets. No, I'm not buying.
Jesus. All right. Well, Brett and I are the
God
only
damn,
one that
two of
have
us.
taste here. All right, that's the end of that segment. Got that out of the way real quick.
Oh boy.
And on to the next one. Okay, so once again, we had the Pacific League start. We had the EMEA League start. It's still ongoing. We had a crazy upset in that league. We'll get to that, maybe. And Americas is starting this Friday.
Yep.
But also, CS:GO came out last week,
Wait,
and we
is it
want to
Friday,
know.
Saturday?
We made our picks are who are going to be poached for Counter-Strike 2. So let me
This is a
remove this.
terrible segment.
So
Yeah, this segment is so silly.
So we discussed amongst ourselves who we thought amongst the top pro Valorant players who is going to get poached for CS2, and let's reveal them. Okay.
No way! No way!
All right, bye.
So
No way.
we actually didn't discuss this. We actually did this independently, and 3 of us independently picked Scream. He looks great in his picture, though.
Why did you guys pick Scream?
Because he's the headshot master. Everybody, he has a pretty big following in Valorant, but his following is massive in Counter-Strike. I don't think that dictates where you play, but I think there's more pressure on him than many of the other players to go back to Counter-Strike. Because a lot of people a lot of the players in top-level Valorant right now made their names within the game.
Yeah. I did it because he tweeted like a weird tweet being like, I can go back to CS whenever I want. I'm going to conquer Valorant first and then maybe we'll see.
Let's see.
I was just like, what is this? Like you're like on a Valorant team right now. You're about to compete in the partnership league. I just found it very odd. It was like he was responding to like 12-year-old trolls, like who were like saying that he couldn't hack it anymore.
So for the audio listeners, Scream tweeted, "People forgot I played CS since 2005, double space. 12 years ago as a professional, played 8 majors. Multiple reasons why I left, but my love for CS is forever. So respect it, kids. My goal is to dominate Valorant first and maybe one day be back to remind you about the headshot machine again. Hashtag one tap." So
How about be the
tweet
headshot machine in Valorant?
I mean, he is pretty good at clicking on heads in Valorant.
I just mean like
Scream is the best player in the world.
play Duelist more. I know I'm looking at the results. I know he played Raze earlier, but he still played KO in the first.
Yeah,
round.
Scream. When you're watching this and you post your counter tweet to us, fucking make sure you play Duelist in your next game, huh?
I feel like that the tweet that he made was like, "Oh fuck! I just realized all my CS fans have been unfollowing me for the last 2 months. Oh shit! I have to tweet something to stay relevant." And he just tweets this.
you guys are
Yeah,
mean.
you got him. Look at the like ratio.
I
That's great.
It is great.
Mimi,
engagement.
why'd you pick Vanity?
It's a good tweet. So this was before I saw that he got signed to Shopify, I believe, right? Is where he got signed to now.
Yeah.
I think that's real. So I was like, okay, bro is not going to be on a partnership team because the transfer window closed. I don't know if he'll want to play in a challengers team. We submitted this before that announcement came out, and I was like, he was a pretty damn good Counter-Strike player. He was a good IGL. CS2 is out. Maybe you get on the hype train, play it on stream, wait for an offer from an org. Maybe you get something. That'd be pretty cool. So yeah, that's kind of why I said that. Because he was a good player in both games, and he's a good mind. And NA Counter-Strike right now, similar to NA Valorant actually, does not have a lot of good IGLs, and he's a very smart player in both games.
All right, shout out to CS2. Just because it's a similar game doesn't mean we have to hate it. We're just going to probably say goodbye to a couple pros to it, because that's just what happens.
I don't think pros are going to go back.
You think zero
Well,
pros?
I think the people who failed at Valorant will go back, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, if you jumped ship and you were like, Valorant's going to be easier, I'm going to find success here, and you didn't, maybe, yeah, you will go back over. But I don't think the people who are, like, well-established in Valorant and, like, are currently signed and have careers are likely to, because it's not a hugely significant change. There's some tweaks. It's a slightly different game. Sure. It's kind of something to re-spark interest, and maybe for some it will re-spark that passion. But if you're vested in your career in Valorant right now, and you're at a place where you're either signed or like at a top-level free agent team, I think that giving all that up and kind of having to reset to replay your way up to the level that you either once had or could achieve in Counter-Strike is kind of troll. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this will just like re-spark the joy in the game for some people, and that's totally valid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone's gonna have like the Nitro situation, right, where they can just immediately slot back in.
Yeah.
Like, TL, I'm back. Please.
Just kidding.
I want to come back. Yeah, I don't know. I went with Scream just because, I guess, similar reasons that everybody else did, but also I just figured like it is that kind of situation where like if Valorant just doesn't work out, if this year is like a shit show for Carbine, then you just be like, you know what, going back to CS2.
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I was thinking, but this is just a troll topic. Nice little two little trolly topics to start off.
This one bothered me. I literally brought this up at the bar last night with like Paper Thin and everybody. I was just like, I don't know. Like, I don't know who to pick.
Okay, real
like,
talk.
Is it Ye? Is Ye the one? Like, I don't know.
You think Ye's going to CS? Maybe. Who knows? But yeah, troll topic.
I heard Ye was
complete.
going to Overwatch. Isn't he getting like signed by like the something Spark?
You talk about that.
The Hangzhou Spark.
He's
Is that
actually
what the
the
team's
only
called?
player on the Chengdu Hunters.
Oh,
Wow, that's
good for
crazy.
him.
Dude, shout out to the Overwatch League. Let's go. Big shout out to the Overwatch League. Shout out to the teams that are there and the players.
You know,
Love
Yeah.
them.
guys,
What are
we
we
felt like we were a
saying?
little too specific with like Plat Chat Valorant and Plat Chat Overwatch. That's just Plat Chat Gaming now. We're just gonna talk about all the games.
We're gonna cover
What do you
all
guys
the.
think about the most recent PUBG major? I really liked it.
God.
Riv just
Yeah, I thought
casted
it
a
was pretty
PUBG
good.
mobile tournament. That was sick. I watched the entire thing. All right.
Really?
No. Or really, he
Okay.
did cast it. I didn't watch a second of it. All right. Pacific Week
Oh, well.
1 results. Seth, take it away.
I wonder how to drink the water real quick.
I also watched some of the
I spilled
games.
some on myself. Anyway, what are we talking about?
The Pacific games.
Yeah, they were really good. Some of them, most of them, all of them. DRX won. That was unsurprising. They 2-0'd Zeta. It was very one-sided. It was a 13-5 in both maps. T1 looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. Obviously a tech pause riddled series, but they were able to take down Global with the 2-1 victory. They absolutely got boomed on their own map pick of Haven, 13-4. But then they ran it back on Lotus. It was the first time that we got to see Lotus from them, and they looked pretty good there. It was a solid game plan. Zeta kind of pounded. Very good team. W.
Hell yeah.
Like, is it like actually? I haven't had a chance to watch this match yet. Was it? Did you actually feel like it was like? Because I felt like one of their biggest issues at like lock-in is like in this. They obviously only played one series because they got first rounded. But for me,
Right.
they looked like kind of like clueless and like ran out. Like obviously like they had an idea going in,
Fixed.
but once that was tested, they just like never really adapted. Does it feel like they actually were able to like come up with new ideas in this series? Were they tested enough to see that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that like compared to Lock-in, this looked like T1 actually remembered how to play the game because like the most
good.
puzzling thing about their performance at Lock-in was that Carpe was the one who looked like he knew what was going on, and everybody else who had been competing in Valorant looked completely lost. Like we did not see good performances from Zeta, from Xayah player, like these players that you expect to really be able to perform because they've been around the block. Like Zeta on C9 looked incredible all the way back at like Champs 2021 when they knocked the RX out and yada yada yada. Like you expect way more from them. So that was really puzzling why they look so lost. But one of the things that we had kind of found out when we were at Lock-in and we knew going into this matchup was that even before they played at Lock-in, they had already made the team decision like, okay, we're going to shift his Zeta shot calling and not have Munchkin shot call because clearly he hadn't been comfortable with it. But they didn't do that move in time for their match. So this was their like kind of like first series with Zeta shot calling. They also had intro kind of like re-debuting, and you know obviously his first performance with the team in their first map. Intro looked right at home playing Viper. He did extremely well. I mean, as not as far as like his KD is concerned, but like his impact in the game was really good.
Sure.
And Zeta shot calling was fairly clean throughout this. So it was much improved from what we had seen at Lock-in. So it was kind of a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I do think though that they ran into a GE that was playing with Ronsky because of the SK Rossi visa issues, and I felt like they kind of got bailed out, especially with map 1, which was the map that I was paying the closest attention to, because that was before the tech pause issues and everything else. But it felt like Munchkin was bailing them out by just channeling God through his fucking mouth sometimes. like
Yeah.
with his anchoring, like his just ability to pick up 3 or 4 kills and stay alive and never get cleared out. I mean, listen, a fault of GE, I think, as well, just not having the coordination for it. But with T1, their biggest issue was, like we mentioned, their calling and their adapting on the fly. I think Zeta calling definitely is way more preferable to Munchkin, just because Zeta actually has that kind of experience. But I still saw similar issues, like the same kind of like over-rotating, wrong decisions being made, yet being bailed out because, generally speaking, their retakes were quite good, or their util combos were actually pretty fleshed out with a lot of the comps that they were playing. But they are improving at a steady rate. But I just wonder what happens when they get tested by a better team. Like, what's the next matchup that they've got in the Pacific League?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure.
Talon.
Talon?
Right.
So that's an interesting one.
I think given
Yeah.
the way that Talon looked, this in theory would be closer, but I also think that Talon's going to bounce back and look more like their lock-in form in the next series. There's been some interviews with Zeus, and he's been talking about like why they had that performance. And
I can tell
basically
you're a
he
League of
was saying,
Legends
like,
caster because
straight
you
from their
said
game plan.
you say Zeus instead of Zeus. That isn't there a League player that's Zeus? Isn't this guy just Zeus?
To my knowledge, they were both Zeus.
Are they both Zeuses? Really?
That's cool.
I could be incorrect about that. For
Do you
for
know?
Talon's
Do you know the
side.
story of why for reference, Zeus is a League player, Korean League player who's like good? I think.
It would be the way that it's written compared to like English into Hangul. It would be written as like Zeus.
Hmm.
Zeus.
Interesting.
So that's why.
Yeah. I've been learning a lot
do
of
we-
Hangul, and it's been breaking my brain recently. I'm just...
There's some interesting pronunciations for sure. There's
Um,
also ones where it's just like, oh, this is supposed to be pronounced that way because you read it, and then it's like, no,
Yeah.
that's actually not. That's not
like how
it is.
F and P doesn't really exist in Hangul, so it's like,
Well, there's that too.
yeah, it's like
I just mean like it's really
interchange.
fun when you get an actual grasp of how to read it, and then you read it correctly, but then someone says, no, that's not how it's pronounced. Like
Yeah.
Dongnimun, which is just an area, is written as like Doklimun, but it's pronounced Dongnimun, even though it's written with like a G sound and an L. And it's just like, oh, go fuck yourself. Like, this is how it's said.
Is Hangul like is it like how like Chinese is written where it's like different characters for different words, or is it more like letters, or is it like you put
More
the
like
different
letters.
like things together into it?
a
Interesting.
combination of
Yeah, it's more like letters. They reinvented the alphabet like several hundred years ago, and it was one of the smartest things that they had done during I think this was the Joseon Dynasty. Really fucking incredible design of the language. You can learn how to read
It actually
Hangul
does
in
pop
like
off.
you can
Very
learn how to
easy
read
to
Hangul
learn.
in like less than an hour. It's
Yeah.
one of the most well-designed alphabets in the
Wow.
world.
That's really
You
cool.
could learn it by the end of this episode, Mimi. Get on it.
Let's
Yeah.
go.
That's actually really cool. I think it's so like interesting how like language is like translated into text and how that happened. Like, isn't it fucking crazy that like one day a guy was just like, these lines mean this, and everyone was like, okay, cool. And then like over like hundreds of years, it like adapted to be so universal in that like many of the world's languages use the same letter system. Like that's
The
fucking crazy.
anthropology linguistics podcast
Yep.
now.
Yep.
We're pushing up. We're pushing up. We're going past Valorant, past gaming. Talking
So-
about anthropology.
I
The
was
evolution
trying
of
to.
language.
I wanted to segue this back into the Pacific chat because one thing that wasn't talked about was Foxy Nine's debut in the national. I guess it's not international competition, but playing for DRX. Apparently, he popped off. I heard Mako said he's like the best player in the world. What's up with that? I have a clip here of him just like acing.
This is the very end of the series then, when he was able to get this ace. So obviously there was 2 kills previously, and then the guy was just hitting some of the nastiest quick scopes that we've seen. Misses the last one, and then he just kind of like finishes this one out in style with the classic. The rest of the team is like trying to just like rotate into the site to help him out, but
Yeah,
inevitably he
he
just gets it. So this is just how he ended the set in his debut. So this was unexpected. I remember I was outside going to get coffee, and Ken Yang came up to me and paper thin, and he said like, "Oh, did you see our roster?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Okay, I keep it secret." I'm like, "Well, Ken, you just told me like Fox is playing. Like now I know." Like you're not gonna like spoil anything if you tell me it's the same team from lock-in. So I immediately knew that Foxy 9 was gonna be in. Buzz couldn't make it due to some personal things. I don't know. It's not my place to go into it, but everything's fine. He just had something going on that was important for him to go to. But so they kind of found this out, I guess, within like the last week or so. So there was a little bit of limited time to make adjustments, but they had enough that it wasn't like super concerning. And he came in and had a little bit of a slow start in, I'd say, both maps, but it just hit this like fever pitch where basically he started rolling, and then there was no stopping him. Foxy just ended up crushing.
Yeah.
It was some pretty nasty performances, some pretty nasty shots. Granted, I do think that Zeta made it a little bit easier for him. There was a lot of times where they lined up and basically just sacrificed two people and like to a phantom spray. So I think that if he was going to play against a team like Talon, a team like Secret, Gen.G, he wouldn't have as easy of a time by any means. I think that Meteor would certainly test him. But I think it was a nice debut and a good way to just kind of get the debut out of the way and then be able to be more comfortable moving forward.
I wanted to talk about Zeta real quick. They're one of the only international teams that didn't make any changes going into this year.
Correct.
And they just lost 13-5, 13-5 to DRX, obviously one of the best teams in the world, but they're not playing with their starting roster and they're missing Buzz. Like, is there...
Yeah.
Do they need to make some changes?
I think this is cause for concern a little bit. Because I don't know. I was thinking they didn't make any real changes in the off season. They had like quite a bit of talent that they could have picked from in order to make upgrades to their roster. But they chose not to, and they chose to remain as is. But this was a team that was already suffering from problems. I feel like we were blinded a little bit. A lot of people were blinded by their miracle run at Reykjavik, and honestly, it kind of shielded them from a bit of criticism as well when they went on that kind of tear. But they didn't qualify for Copenhagen, and then they kind of got rattled around at champs as well.
Yeah.
And heading into this now, it's like we're entering a potential situation where it just looks like, APAC in particular, the Pacific region, is very strong. 3 slots, 3 teams are going to be able to make it to Masters Tokyo, and there's a reality where we don't see Zeta go. I mean, obviously still week 1, but if you think about it, like there's a lot of teams that you would probably place above them even now. Like you'd have DRX as a lock-in, I think, to make it to Tokyo, but then other teams, like I would say Gen.G is looking better than them. I think PaperX as well, I think are looking better than them. Global Esports, maybe if they get a full roster together as well, could be a contender on top of it. Talon, if they get back up to the form that they showed at Lock-In. Like, there's a lot of teams that I would pin over Zeta Division right now to make it there, which I think would be a bit of a shame, right? Because you're missing out on Zeta being able to play in front of their home crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think now, based on... Oops, sorry, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, we saw how, like, impact... how... like great it is to like actually get to see a home team in front of their home crowd, that not getting to see Zeta there would be a shame. But I still feel like a lot of their like kind of issues of like just like coordination and ideas have like continued to struggle. Like I wasn't able to catch all these games, but I watched some of that Zeta match, and I think it was their Pearl game where they were playing the Harbor Viper comp, and their like defensive side with that comp was like absolutely dreadful. I think they got like 2 rounds maybe against DRX across the board. 1.
Both halves were
not very good.
It was far worse than you're expecting.
Yeah.
But
twice as bad as I thought. But it's like that's like a comp where like a lot of what you have to do is like build on like kind of layering your utility and retakes and knowing how to like give and retake space with like your Sky and your control utility. And I just didn't really see them doing that. Like they just got like absolutely bulldozed by DRX. It felt like they picked a comp and didn't know how to play it on the defensive side of this map, honestly.
The amount of times they just gave up B and didn't, like, they gave up all positioning where they could have potentially spammed down a cove and, like, made it just a little bit less easy for DRX. But DRX were handed the easiest post-plant situations in the world on B. like
Yeah.
over and over and over again. It was like a fundamental misunderstanding of how they were supposed to play against that comp. And they were really miscoordinated with their flank attempts as well whenever they were in the post plants to try and
It was like
disrupt
they'd
it.
go to like push for like a double flank, and then like one person would go to head or something,
Yep.
and they wouldn't commit to any ideas. Yeah.
Very disappointing, I think. And yeah, I think you could make an argument that, listen, it's like week 1. It's too early. It's like 9 weeks of play, obviously, but I don't know. This the writing's been on the wall for a while with the Zeta squad, I think, and we've just been blinded a little bit, I think, by that Reykjavik run.
Yeah,
So-
you can't make the week 1 argument when it's basically the same team
Yeah,
in
Yeah.
a not so different meta from the last time that they played.
but they did play against
Um,
the strongest team in the region, so maybe you can cut them a little
Sure.
slack. But even
I mean,
still,
you
I
could
don't
say
know.
it's a DRX effect, but I mean, granted, you only need to make top 3 obviously to be able to go to Tokyo, but it's still concerning because I think right now I still have them probably going into playoffs, but in 6th position, and
Yeah.
even then, it's still very much up for grabs. It's going to take like another week or so to really determine what their actual power level is going to be. But I have them on that lower end. The scary thing is like that DFM looked more convincing in pretty much most regards as far as like their shot calling and the way that they were playing in their series. So I do have concerns for Zeta. And people have been, saying like, "Oh, who would you pick up? Like, there's no other good players to fill in everything." I think motherfuckers should. He's not Japanese, obviously, but he can speak it. I think people should consider JoJo,
Yeah.
from that North Epsilon roster, who was actively translating for Meteor during games. I think that he would be a really strong initiator flex that they could potentially utilize, and he's a very strong player in his own right. Understands the language. His like side calling is also very, very good. I think that that's somebody that should be looked at as they look to improve. And my wife is calling me, so I need a moment. I'll be right back.
On the point of like Japanese players, I'm actually surprised one of the Japanese teams in franchising for Pacific League didn't look into picking up something. Obviously, he got signed to Paper X, but
Yeah.
my understanding is he has been like a really like kind of like strong prospect in Japanese Valorant for a while that I think would have been interesting to maybe see one of those squads invest in him. But also, I don't necessarily feel like either speaking more specifically of Zeta or also to an extent of DFM, the issue is that like we don't have a crazy firepower individual jet, because I think they have that, at least in terms of Zeta. Obviously, they're doing weird stuff with like moving around depth and Laz and their roles and such, but I feel like it is more about like the ideas and the coordination for this team, as I feel like it always has been, because since that one stint that they had at Reykjavik, like you've talked about, it's felt like they just kind of can oftentimes like just crumble under some of these matches.
Detonation do have a high power jet player though as well.
Yes, they
They
do.
have Suggest. Suggest is pretty good at the game, honestly. Like that guy can pound, but I don't know. The Zeta is the team we're discussing. I think they've got problems, and I think it is the time to worry. It was time to worry in the off season when they weren't making any changes, and now you're just they're kind of reaping what they sowed, in my mind.
It's
But
time
we'll
to
see.
worry, but they also played the best team in the league, and I think they looked
Yeah.
rough. And I think a lot of the time, some of the issues of this team, the players have talked about it themselves, can be kind of, at least in part, be kind of like described as being mental. I think they've always been a team that has kind of struggled with cracking under pressure at times. And I think maybe that could have been a factor in the DRX game. Maybe there's some hope that they can play against some of the more kind of like mid-tier teams in Pacific. And I agree with you, Seth. I think there's a reasonable chance that they like make playoffs towards the bottom of the barrel in like the 6th or 5th position.
So if they lose to RRQ and Global Esports, would you say it's time to pull the trigger on some roster moves?
I think that any of their next 3 series, a loss would be kind of devastating.
Really?
To
Okay.
the expectations. Maybe less so on the side of Global.
I'd be inclined to agree. If Global get their full roster back, then Global should be the favorites. I think if Rossi ends up getting in there, they can get practice under their belt. But losing to RRQ, I don't think they should be losing to RRQ, and I think they should be expected to win over Detonation. And a loss against those 2 teams does not bode well for the rest of their matches, because in theory it should only get harder from there with the matches they've got as well. I think that T1's a team that you as well, I feel like you want to play them as early in their life cycle as possible, because that's a team that is probably going to get better as the season progresses, and you're playing them second to last. I think it's Gen.G as well, who's one of the strongest opponents. So your easier wins are in theory going to be all in the next few weeks, which is going to be painting the picture of what you're potentially going to be, up to, whether or not you're going to be playing in the playoffs, or potentially even missing out as well. That would be quite tragic.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be worked on for Zeta, unfortunately, and I hope I hope that they can fix it. I don't want to have teams that you write off before their series is even played, but I also obviously want to see one of our 2 Japanese representatives be doing well, because it has become a powerhouse region as far as like viewership and everything's concerned. We've seen great performances out of them, so I want them to do well. But there's a lot of stuff that needs to be adjusted. Maybe it's just that day one they're playing against DRX. We'll have to just wait and see how they look in the next series. But things looked really off. As we were saying, like shot calling, depths opping was also pretty inconsistent in those very quick maps. So they need a fast turnaround. So I'm hoping that they look a bit better. But those are very crucial series for them to be able to pick up for themselves, and if they drop them, then yes, I'm going to be very, very worried for their future.
All right, so before we move on, I wanted to touch on a couple other teams in the Pacific League. I was unable to watch the games, but would you consider the Team Secret 2-1 over Talon an upset? How do you guys feel about that? Like, I was unable to watch the game.
I have been getting reamed by Filipino fans because of this one. Absolutely verbally mauled. And I don't think that I'm unjust in saying that based on what we saw at lock-in, this was an unexpected result. As far as calling it an upset, I think that could come across as like harsh verbiage or whatever. It's a term that we did use on the desk, but the eye test from Talon was better at lock-in.
I'd agree with that.
The teams that they beat, the way that they pushed DRX, it was expected that they were going to win. And one of the things that because I was just watching the VODs back and everything, and one of the things that I learned, apparently, from reviewing and having the chat replay on, was that people thought that I was accusing Secret of beating Team Liquid because Secret got lucky at lock-in. Now, let me explain. Because there's clearly a breakdown in communication. There's a misunderstanding here. That's not what I said at all. What I said was that Secret beat Liquid because Liquid looked like shit. Not because they were lucky. So, based on that, and because they then went on to lose against Na'Vi, I was saying it was really difficult to gauge the strength of Team Secret, because they had a series that was incredibly easy that shouldn't have been, and then one that was incredibly difficult because Na'Vi was a good team. So I didn't know where they were going to end up as far as their power level was concerned. So I thought that this was going to be a gigabanger of a series. It ended up going to 3. The maps weren't as close as I would have liked, but Secret looked incredible. They still, like, one of the things that we saw from them at lock-in was that their fundamentals was great. Their aim was still cracked. Jesse Vosh was pounding. So it was like, okay, I can see this team is not only just winning because Liquid is playing poorly, but clearly, the fundamentals are there for this squad. But how are they going to look against a more even opponent in Talon? And in fact, they just looked way better.
One thing I'm looking at here is Patty Found is Pat now.
Yes.
They subbed him out after they won, and then they got rolled.
Yeah, that's a weird decision that they're making, honestly, to play him as well, because Padapan's already retired, as far as I'm aware, like a couple of times in games because of his wrist injury. And now he's like back in it again. Obviously, it seems like they're kind of having him rotate in as like a 6-man, which I suppose would be easier for him. But still, I mean, if he's going to be consistently practicing it, I don't know his own health situation, but I know that if you've retired multiple times for wrist pain, you probably shouldn't be, competing at least on a regular basis. You should probably be a full-time bench player while you're resting and recovering. And right now, the role they've got him filling is like very much a filling role where he's not playing that primary duelist. It is quite strange, right? Because Paddy's just from what we know of him back in the day when he was playing on a Jet, the guy was unbelievably cracked. Like, he was paving the way for his team. So, it's odd that they've got him playing this position. I think it's odd that they've got him playing in the first place as well, because I feel like he's the kind of player that you would just want to be fully recovered. Maybe he is, I don't know, but it just seems to me that when I'm reading between the lines and seeing him retire multiple times in his career for wrist problems, then it just seems odd. It seems like he's unable to really like put it away, almost like he feels like his career will be over if he doesn't grasp the opportunity that's in front of him. But not true. I mean, he's a super young guy, very talented as well. Like he takes a year off to just heal himself a little bit. Then I feel like there'd be no shortage of teams that he could play on. And as far as I'm aware, he speaks pretty good English as well. But like, there's a lot that actually makes you incredibly valuable in APAC when a lot of teams are building multinational teams of a variety of talent.
Yeah, and one thing of note is I think it was after their matches, I guess their coach creative left and they signed Boy. You guys remember Boy? From
like 100 Thieves Boy.
100 Thieves Boy. He's their coach now.
Another boy on the team.
Yeah.
Another boy acquired.
He's a singular boy, though, not a plural boy like Sushi Boys and Jit Boys, but they have added a singular boy to the squad.
I mean, this is a pretty good ad. I've always been a big fan of like APAC importing in like experienced players, staff from other regions, because I've always felt the big gap that was missing was never mechanics or individuals. It's always been the kind of like macro sense of how to adapt on the fly. And for a lot of teams, like that got shored up from multiple international events. Like you look at a lot of the Asian teams that are at the top because they played multiple international games, they've got great practice, and they really did develop. But there is a bit of a gulf in terms of that when you look at a lot of the other teams. So a player like a coach like Boy coming in, I think can add quite a bit to this team.
Is there any other teams you guys? Oh, sorry, Mimi, I keep cutting you off.
No, it's fine. I do think it's important to note. I think he's coming in more of like an assistant / like strategic coach capacity. Zeus is still, I believe, the primary coach of this roster, who's been their coach since like the X10 like ancient era. So that's staying through. And also like one more point on like this kind of 6-man roster thing they're doing. I also thought it was interesting that I think it was Sushi Boys that they were subbing out. When I initially saw the roster, I thought the plan was that like Jit Boy or Garnets would be one of the players that was being subbed out. But they've actually elected to kind of like boot one of these main roster players to make way for Patafan temporarily only on some maps on a role where honestly like the Harbor, I didn't think he looked super comfortable. So it feels like they're overcooking it a lot. To me, like I always think like 6-man rosters, you kind of overcook it a little bit. And I really liked the core they played at Lock-In. Obviously, they played above the level of expectations. I'm not expecting like Jit Boy and Garnets to look like such absolutely insane perfect players every game as they did at Lock-In. But I think that team had maybe more potential than juggling your roles. But it's only one game. I guess we have to kind of trust the process and see if this is something they continue.
Yeah, it was puzzling to see the way that the rotations were going down. And I think that if it worked, it would have been really neat, but obviously things kind of fell apart. That fracture was just, I mean, it was one of the poorest performances, unfortunately, that we saw across the entire weekend. And it just seems like Secret really downloaded the playbook from Talon after just, studying the 2 times that they played Fracture over at Lock-In, because obviously they beat BRX on that one, like with like a 13-10 or a 13-11 scoreline. They just had a really good understanding of exactly how they were going to try to tackle that. So you see some differentiation and some new strategies coming out from them if they're going to be going back to these kind of like repeat maps. Maybe a bit more stability in the starting roster and whatnot, rather than trying to go for like these 3-way swaps. That was like one of the unique things about it, and that's why I was kind of excited to see if it was going to work, because normally we see like a 1-for-1 swap, like Ban comes in for intro, that kind of thing. But this was like Sushi Boys is out for Pat, and then Jit Boys gets subbed out for Sushi Boys, and then Pat gets subbed out for Jit Boys. It was this kind of like 3-way rotation that they had that they going through the series, and I was curious to see it work, but unfortunately it just did not. I don't know. There's been a couple things, obviously they had the new coach and whatnot, so we'll see how that adjusts. Again, whichever, I'll have to ask him which one it is just to clarify that. So I'll double check on that this week. It's probably Zeus, but he had said like basically, we got in the game and we just didn't follow the game plan. So it seems like there was maybe some divergence in game and whatnot from what the actual call was going to be. Maybe that has to do with like the absence of sushi in the first map. I'm not fully certain, but we'll have to just kind of see what happens in the future. I don't think that we're going to see a repeat week like that. I don't think that Talon had like a peak in lock-in and that now it's going to spiral. I think that this was just like a very rough start for them, and then moving forward things should be a bit more consistent. So we'll just wait and see.
All right. Well, I think that covers most of APAC. Obviously, there's some expected results, right? I missed all of it. I actually missed all of EMEA. Have we watched any EMEA? Because I was thinking about doing EMEA, but I think none of us have really been able to have a chance to watch enough of it to actually go into the weeds. So I think what we should do is postpone.
Watched most of it, but I
you
didn't
did? Do you want to do the entire EMEA discussion by yourself? Because I think
particularly.
I think it's best if we try to just recap everything next week that we missed.
I think that makes way more sense as well because EMEA doing a super week in this first week.
Okay.
And that's exactly the reason I haven't watched any games.
I think the one thing that's worth mentioning.
What if we went to VLR right now and read it and like lied really quick? Here, I'm gonna do that 1 second.
Lied about all it takes.
Dude, I watched to make changes. Game. Yeah, Navi needs to. Oh, actually, Navi's Gecko stuff was.
That's what I was going to bring up.
I've seen. Yeah.
I was going to bring up that like EMEA has actually been playing a decent amount of Gecko, which was kind of surprising. I guess after like an entire like week's play or 3 days play of not seeing it at all in Pacific, we really thought Paper X was going to be the team that brought it out, but EMEA is like Gecko pilled.
They've been playing so much Gecko. I need to see how they've been implementing it. I was catching glimpses of it today because we had the games up like on the TV, but we were like moving in and out and busy all day. That I was just catching glimpses of Angel just whacking utility against walls. Like he was like bouncing back his orbs to himself. It was actually, I mean, I didn't really think about it, but he had some like lineups where I was catching him like doing it over and over again, like outside, where was it? A main into art on Pearl, I think, like in a little window, and then he was just doing it over and over again and reclaiming the orb, and it just gave him constant information if somebody was peeking art, and he could just reclaim the orb again, which was actually kind of cool. But I need to rewatch the games, or not rewatch them. I need to watch them in the first place because
we're gonna watch it. We're gonna analyze it next week.
To the viewers, we don't hate EMEA. We actually all really like EMEA. It's just we all are very busy people and have been like doing things and flying places, and there is just too much good Valorant to watch. But we will watch it in the future and have informed and informative informational opinions on the information of EMEA next time.
We'll have informative information.
Nice.
We will have that.
We only spit facts here on Plat Chat. And you know who else is spitting more facts? DisguisedToast, once again, spitting some facts, dealing with a little bit of hate from the team he signed, but all in all, this is a pretty cool idea. He built the Clout Game Changers team with 4 content creators and a pro player who is also kind of a content creator as well. Quarter Jade, Kaide, Sidian. Is that how you say your name?
I think it's Sidian,
Tenzin, and Tupperware. Sidon.
This team, okay. I wanna start off by saying this team is based. It's a good idea, as we have seen by. I'm gonna go back to Corpo Mimi mode. As we have seen by the current economic situation in our world, it is really fucking hard to be profitable in the world of esports, especially when you're just like signing a pro team. Like he said with his challengers team, I think he said he's spending $500,000 a year to fund that team. Pro player salaries are expensive because you have to sign like 5 of them and a coach, which really starts to add up. So you need a way to like make your money back and to like have something that people will actually engage in and like enjoy watching that makes it worth it for you for the money. And a lot of people, I think when they, not a lot, but some Twitter users, which Twitter users will always say dumb shit, off of this reacted that like, okay, why aren't you signing real players or like actually like dedicated GC players, like the free agents that have been grinding so hard, and being like that it was and saying that it was disingenuous of him to put out a tweet saying who are the best players in GC that I should look at signing, and then like signing a bunch of content creators. But I think that's super fucking troll because he's investing his own money into the Valorant scene and specifically into Game Changers. He's a big content creator putting more attention on it, who is also having other big content creators that he is signing put further attention on it by just bringing that cloud into the mix, which I'm sure comes at a financial investment to him. So I don't care if it's not pro players. It's just base that there's going to be more attention and more teams playing that are kind of dedicated and a part of this, which I think is really cool. You've seen the positive impact that these kind of teams have already had on NA challengers. And also to the one pro player that obviously the other players are going to compete and try their hardest to do something out of this, but Tupperware, great pickup. She was a fantastic individual player on Immortals. That team kind of fell apart, and she's been looking for a squad for quite a while, but she's really, really dedicated to like the brain side of the game and coming up with ideas, and I think she's going to be IGLing for this squad, and is also just a really strong individual player. I think she was playing controller for when she was playing for Immortals. I don't remember per se, but I know that she's a really strong player, and I think a good person to build a kind of clout team around.
Yeah, I agree with all your points pretty much.
Yeah.
Because I think he's.
Her team
I
name
will
is
say
Benjamin.
I was reading all of the point of views on this as well, and I can kind of understand why some people would be a little bit annoyed in the Game Changers scene if DisguisedToast was coming out and being like, I'm building a team, and essentially he never made any claims, but essentially implying that and then going for the content creator. But I still think that he could have just decided, he was pretty transparent about his, decision making and the level of, research that he did, and decided that he didn't really have enough time to actually end up committing a lot of money to a team that he thought, would get good value from for him personally.
Yeah.
And he could have just left Game Changers entirely, I suppose, and not done something like this. But instead, it's like you said, Mimi, it's like he's just attracting a ton of eyes to it. It's only going to be like more viewership, which in theory should be, attracting more attention onto Game Changers and kind of like bringing it up as a whole as well as the entire region, because it's the one thing that has kind of been lacking from Game Changers as well, has been a lot of that viewership. I think it's been growing at a pretty steady rate, but yeah, I think it's just good that he is getting involved in the first place, and he was quite transparent about this as well, about what his intentions were with all of it. So yeah.
I think it's
Also,
gonna be a fun team to watch.
I agree. I think it will be a really fun team. And I want to make another point quick that is like, besides I think there's been two camps of people that have been criticizing this decision. One is what I kind of aforementioned, where it was like, you said you were looking for players and you signed content creators. And the second is people that are more generally complaining about a team that is for fun and like being like, oh, it ruins like the quality of GC or lowers it or whatever because this team is playing for fun. But it's like, shut the fuck up. The requirement for Game Changers right now, I think, is like ascendant. So like I could go play and compete in it. And there are plenty of teams that are just like random pug mixes of friends, and no one complains about that because it's an open circuit. And if you get a slot to play in the open circuit, you can play. It's fine. It doesn't ruin the quality because it's a qualification system. The best 8 teams will make it to the main event, compete for that, and have a chance for the money. If this team doesn't make it to the main event, they're just another pug team that lost. If they do, cool story. It's a fun content team that made it in, that is going to get even more eyes on the scene, which is net positive.
Yeah, I was as well quite disappointed with the general community reaction as well, because you can disagree with the initial point that people were making, but I felt like obviously DisguisedToast quote tweeting it didn't help, because that's always just going to be putting a ton of attention onto it. But you can disagree with the points all you want, but some of the people in the community's reaction to it, I thought was a little bit like, I don't know, for some reason they just see Game Changers as like a engagement farm that they're just gonna like completely, smite down with all their attention like a lightning rod for drama. But people were definitely blowing the entire thing out of proportion, and handing out, I think, a lot of probably, I mean, I would go as far to say as well, like just hate as well. I was seeing around, which I didn't really think was deserved for what the points were being made. You can disagree with them as you will. I mean, I certainly did, but I thought that it was a bit childish, some people's responses to it in general. But yeah,
I'd like
better,
to take
community.
back my childish response of saying "shut the fuck up." I'd like to apologize for that.
I think you
childish
should stand
response.
on that.
Mimi.
My bad.
Leave it be.
All right.
No,
Well,
I mean, I think you guys covered it pretty well. I'm just happy to see further investment, and you know what? We've seen crazy things from streamer teams in the past. Maybe they'll make it to an international. F4Q did it. These
Yeah.
gals can as well.
true.
That was such a fun era of Valorant. I forgot about F4Q. That team
Yeah.
was like super hype. I mean, what is okay? Since we have the Korean expert with us, what is Bunny up to these days? Whatever happened to that guy?
He's a streamer.
That's it?
Really?
Yeah. That to my knowledge, that's basically it. He's a
I had dinner with
Got
Bunny
it.
once, and his vape pen exploded in his pocket during dinner. In like 2019.
I'm imagining it like one of those like those bank like ink bombs or whatever when you steal
Yep.
money, just
Just
going
burn,
off
just
in his pocket.
smoke coming out of his pocket in a restaurant. Fucking, oh, my vape's blown up. Oh, Jesus.
But yeah,
he's just big chilling.
we'll be probably talking about Game Changers a lot more in the coming weeks because I believe Game Changers starts on the 4th, which is Tuesday, the day after America's week 1 ends. So lots of Valorant to look forward to, and I'm assuming DisguisedToast team is going to be playing in that as well.
They will.
Yeah,
There's a lot of good teams playing in that. There's some fun pug mixes. It'll be the first Game Changers for V1, which is Mel and Alexis from Cloud9, plus Fluorescent, who is like one of the best like individual Game Changers players, and then Sarah and oh god, I think I forgot somebody. But there's
forgot.
really good players in it. There's really good players in it. You should watch it. Game Changers is fun to watch.
Speaking of really good players, Shopify Rebellion signs Vanity. They dropped dazzLe. Shopify Rebellion obviously, did not perform up to expectations. I believe they went 1-3 in the first split of the Challengers League. I don't know if you'd call it the split. Was it 1-3? I think they only won one match.
It was not good.
It was not good. So they swapped out IGLs. What do you guys think of this?
I think first of all, like the whole like Challengers run for Shopify was just like absolute like heartbreak after heartbreak. Every match that they lost was like a hyper close overtime. I think every series that they lost, they were like 2 rounds away from winning it. And it really did come down to like these very late game like ideas that kind of like slipped away from them. And honestly, it's tragic for them. I think that they played well enough that you could justify them being a playoff team if one of any number of those like kind of one-off situations went against them. It was the Moist series. It was the Moist series. That's such a weird thing to say. The FaZe series. I think there was another one that was like that too. It was the Oxygen one. Now looking back, was also like hyper close for them. And I feel like Shopify showed some good stuff. Like I think that they like proved that obviously the player quality is still there, and like B-Dog is still a top of a player. Moose is still like one of the like stronger sentinels that kind of exists here. But it really felt like they struggled to find their footing and kind of find the like late round ideas to win out these games. But what I also feel like is a little interesting about this move is that like dazzLe was consistently actually pretty good, at least in the games that I watched of Shopify. But I imagine this is something around the lines of like, okay, we didn't make it. Maybe some of those late rounds, maybe some of the calling was an issue, and you could get Vanity without paying a buyout. That's like a value proposition that you're not going to get very often.
Yeah.
That I think it was only a matter of time before a Challengers team was like, okay, we have an IGL who's solid. They're not a bad player, but holy shit, we can get Vanity without paying a buyout. Like, I think it's a great move for them.
You think it's a great move, but
it kind of
it
sucks for dazzLe. But
It sucks for dazzLe
Yeah.
because I don't
You
think
can't
dazzLe's a bad
really-
player. But
you can't really blame them, unfortunately. You want to grab Vanity? Why the hell not? This is like basically the base of the peak of my knowledge, I suppose, about tier 2 NA. So I'll shut up now.
Yes. Speaking of that, they're still going at it right now. Moist versus G2 is happening right now. But
Oh my God,
as
let's
we
cast it.
found out in the last episode, this almost means nothing. So let's continue.
That's crazy.
So,
Nice.
I wanted to do. Oh, 1 second. I want to do a fun segment.
Yippee!
That
like
I didn't
fun.
really tell you guys about. So
You didn't tell us?
Yeah.
You didn't
so
tell us?
what we're
If
gonna
this
do
applies-
is we are going to rank every agent's Rule 34 image with a tier list here.
What?
We're gonna show a series of images of the agents, and okay, I'm just
Excuse
kidding.
me?
Not
Bro,
actually.
Pardon?
I was like, Kurt getting fired speed run. Like, holy shit, this guy's just got the 112. What the fuck? I was like, what is he pulling up on the Plat chat episode?
What we're actually gonna do.
The thing is,
gonna-
I was ready to do it.
No.
So
no.
actually,
No.
you
No,
know,
he was so
Seth,
convincing in his
What is your-
presentation. I was like, all right, here we go. Let's get this underway.
they're not like they used to be. Let me tell you
I'm already
that.
well versed with these images. Let's go.
I've
I inadvertently
On to
studied for this segment
predictions.
last night.
All right. What everybody's been waiting for, America's Week 1 prediction.
What is this episode?
This is what
What
we've
is
all
this
been waiting
episode?
for. We are just on the verge of watching America's greatest teams, the greatest teams in the world, face off. And we're going to start off.
Oh, they're the greatest teams in the world.
They're the greatest teams in the world.
Any
They didn't win
tournament
lock-in.
since
Loud came in second place. And they
I guess
almost
Loud
won
won a
champs.
tournament. Yeah,
Yeah.
Loud won champs. Optic won the first one. Sentinels.
Won the very first one.
No, the first
Yeah.
one in 2022. You know what I mean? Like each year is a different era.
2022, 2021.
2021.
No, Optic won the first one in 2022, and Sen
Yeah, you
won the
said
first one in
Sentinels
But you
2021.
won
said
the first
Sentinels
one in
won in
2022.
2022 is what you
But
said.
they both won the first one, just different first ones.
But not the one in
But
2022.
you said the first one in
please,
2022.
please. My brain is like leaking out of my
No,
ears. We gotta start
Pour
this
some
segment.
water on your head, Bren. Let's go.
We
All
gotta,
right.
we
So,
gotta start.
match of the week is going to be the first match of the week.
Oh,
We got
God.
Sentinels
Oh my
versus
God.
100 Thieves. Everyone except for Seth picked 100 Thieves to win. Seth,
So-
explain yourself. Why do you believe?
I will
in
explain. This
Sentinels?
is very simple. A, I knew that everyone else was going to pick 100 Thieves, and I wanted to be different. Because if I'm different, then you can't get a Plat chat guarantee, and I can't be blamed for 100 Thieves laws.
bro,
B,
Mike's HD owes you a drink. You've dodged the Plat chat guarantee.
B, I simply DM'd Zekin, and I said, hey, you're going to win this match, right? And he said, yeah, of course. And I went, all right, locking it in.
I respect that. You did the
Nice
deep dive.
logic.
I just figured that he's a strapping young lad. He wouldn't lie to me. I'm an elder to him, so I trusted in the youth. And Zekin said that they were gonna win, so there you go.
I do
heard-
think this series is going to be closer than people think, though. Because I think if you purely go off the strength of schedule from lock-in, you would say it's actually quite even. But these are two teams where I think Sentinels, people are overly harsh on them. They attract a lot of criticism, right? Because they are probably the biggest org in Valorant in terms of player base. Maybe you can make an argument now for like Carmen Core or some of the other newer teams that have just kind of like imported fan bases that are incredibly annoying. But it's hard to tell, I think, the true strength of Sentinels, especially given the fact that they've had a couple more weeks as well to prep now, because I feel like they were...
Yeah.
It was almost like their practice got delayed a little bit from having to play in that Tarek Ludwig event. I don't think they wanted to play in it. I think that they were kind of like... had their arm bended a little bit that they had to play in it, because obviously, like, Tarek's org is Sentinels, and so they're like, come on, guys, play in this one. And they're like, well, we don't want to reveal anything. Let's play double duelist comps and... not actually get
Do you
too
think
much.
the Corpo guy? Who was the Corpo guy that came
I
on the
forgot.
Ludwig Tarek event?
Rob,
that was
Rob
a crazy
Moore, the
time.
CEO.
Yeah, that was like John Sentinels, right?
Yeah, that was John
Rob
Sentinels. Yeah.
Okay.
But my point is that I think that Sentinels had a bit of a delay in terms of how much practice they could get early on. And so I think this will be a closer match than anticipated. If you purely go off the strength of schedule of like how they performed at lock-in, 100 Thieves would be the obvious
Sure.
choice, but don't count out Sentinels.
I don't know if I would say 100 Thieves is an obvious choice here, because we only got to see Sentinels in a game versus Fnatic, the team that went on to win it. And I think they struggled to adapt, but I felt like in both those maps, Fnatic was mostly just playing a really, really solid game. And there was gaps in Sentinels. I think their Haven game, they did a really bad job of like breaking Killjoy utility and like properly taking their time to default. I also felt like their A execs like constantly left a gap. Like there was like 50 rounds in a row where Fnatic managed to like leave a player short and get kills. But I feel like those are all things that are very fixable with time. And since they got eliminated like immediately, they've had like a month and a half to come home and prep and get settled into Los Angeles. And for 100 Thieves, they actually showed some struggles at lock-in. Like, I think the cryo role is still up in the air. Is he going to lean into the jet? Are they going to keep this identity of playing him on different roles and kind of making him flex around? It's kind of a big question for them. Are they going to keep doing this stuff like focusing on the mid-round? Or are they going to go back to the stuff where they were like playing very like structured and like set plays? I don't know. They have to like find a balance that works for them. But I predicted 100 Thieves in this matchup, even though I think it's close. I was playing some Ascendant 5-stacked sweaty ranked games. I queued against Mike's HD. We had a very, very hard-fought battle on Ascent. It went the distance. I was playing Astra. He was playing Omen. It was the game of our career. And afterwards, after a 13-11 loss to him, he messaged me GG's, and then he said, "You guys won't have to do a Plat chat segment about being disappointed in us this time."
Really?
So they're going to win it all. They're going to win it all.
All right.
Yep.
Do you think it's as simple as just taking Cryo off?
If he beats me in the rank game, he's going to win.
I think a large
He's the best Ascendant 3 player in the world, so he must be the best coach in the world.
I think 100 Thieves went. By the way, you're getting a sneak peek at the desk, by the way, because this is all I was talking about today, but in our fucking story being. But one of the biggest things that that I felt like, if you define 100 Thieves success, previously it was very, very good structure that they had on the team. And 2023 lock-in was like going much more in the opposite way, it felt like, and trying to really put a test to how well they could adapt in their mid-rounding and their calls to be made. But I think that with that play style comes a necessity to have a playmaker. And when Cryo was playing like the Omen, it's not a bad role for him, but he's being more of a team player. He's not being enabled to be that star player. So I think if they start putting Cryo in a position where he can really just like fry and take over a game on a comfort role like Jet more, it sounds very one-dimensional, sounds like almost the antithesis to analysis, but that's why I like Valorant, because sometimes you just shoot people in the head and you're just fucking better. You know what I mean? Like you don't need strats sometimes. You can just be fucking better than the opponent. And listen, throw your nerd shit out the window. I'm burning your notebook, Timmy. I'm shoving you in a locker. I'm stealing your lunch money. Don't come at me with that shit. When Cryo's wide swinging you and popping you in the head, you're gonna be crying. So I hope that they move in that direction. They might not. They might make me look like a fucking idiot, but we'll see.
I think what you're saying is like, I think what you're saying is true. Is like true, but I also feel like people kind of like, I feel like sometimes overstate like how much like giving someone a comfort role, like say Jet in this case, is just about like comfort and like making them play better individually. I feel like the point that really resonated with me that you made was that like their style, if they're going to be more reliant on these mid rounds, having a Jet gives them a lot more options, because it's a lot easier to kind of like either gambit your Jet for space on the defensive side, or have like a set play early to get space, get an opening kill, and then reset and play the mid round off that. And I think those kind of solutions are what we're talking about in striking the balance between the old kind of like super structured preset play stuff that they used to do and the more kind of free flowing stuff now. And I think a role change could succeed at that, but I also think there are other solutions if they've had more time, if they want to lean the other direction. It'll be difficult, but I think it is still possible, and it's about how 100 Thieves wants to define themselves this year.
Yeah, I think it's going to go to distance, but I think we're going to see less Omen and Raze from Cryo, and I do think that is a huge deciding factor in 100 Thieves' victory over Sentinels. All right. Let's go to the next match. We got Crew versus Furia.
Surely this is a guarantee, right?
Surely it's a guarantee.
Yeah.
Is it a guarantee?
Yeah.
We all picked Furia over Crew. Are we
don't
going
get
to guarantee
it's a guarantee? No,
we don't get to choose.
We don't get to choose.
Just no matter what?
It's a guarantee. Guarantee it, Kurt.
All right, guys. Ready? 3, 2. That's a guarantee.
That's a great
Fury.
photo.
Yeah.
Furia
No.
is taking it.
I'm assuming this is your mic, Mimi, that you have like a little like magnetized
Yeah.
microphone. It looks like you've just left the store without taking off the security tag.
Yeah, I stole this hoodie from
You've
the
just
Target across
completely
the street.
forgotten. I just didn't remove it.
The Walmart security is banging down my door, but we got to finish the podcast, so I'm not going to let him in.
I think Furia looks like the better team just from what we saw. Like the only thing we can really judge us off is lock-in, but Crew are looking particularly lost as a team, aren't they? I mean, they made some changes, but I don't think it will solve a lot of their problems. And Furia look like a team with quite a lot going for them, actually, from what we witnessed at lock-in. Maybe you can argue that they're not going to have that crowd buff anymore, but I don't know. I think that they should be clear favorites in this one.
Yeah, I think for me I was a little bit on the fence, but I had to go with Furia just given the way that they were able to push Fnatic, at least on that Haven map, and go into what was like triple overtime or something like that. It was like a 1917 loss, and then obviously things kind of fell apart for them after that. But I think that they have a really good drive. This came down to, do I still believe in the Crew versus Brazil buff aspect? And I think that with Kesnet coming back over, he absolutely could swing things. I just don't know if there's enough time to get him like reacclimated to the team. I think Furia looks scary, so I think that this is kind of the end of that for Crew. But we'll see.
Yeah. Also, Crew is gonna like kind of have to like recook some things here, because like you mentioned the changes, Bren, but it's like we've dropped our coach Lizo, who we've had since owner left the team. We've dropped Shandy, who I believe is IGLing at the last event, which is a change. So it was like Klaus was calling, and then it was like, okay, we're gonna try having Shandy call, and then it's like, nah, fuck that. We're gonna drop Shandy after like playing literally one game versus probably the second best EMEA team, who was like pounding that event. And then they're also like, okay, we need a new star player. But they re-signed Kesnet, minus Kesnet plus Kesnet. And Kesnet is a good player, but I don't think re-signing the guy that, well, you hit your peaks with, you were also kind of hitting your slump era with, is going to be like a fix-all to suddenly make Crew good. I think having to change your IGL, integrate a new, I don't know. It's something to gesticulate with. Just ignore it. Anyways, continuing on with my point. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be enough for Crew to actually re-hit the heights, because I think the expectation should be like, if they're not getting back to the point where they're like making international events and actually being like fighting with Leviathan to be like the best LATAM team, I think that's in a way a disappointment, because we've seen what heights this team can hit, and I just don't think we're going to be able to see that, at least not with this time in the first few weeks of Americas. Maybe they'll cook stuff up, maybe Kesnet will become God's gift to Valorant, but in my opinion, Furia just impressed me so much at lock-in. They lost to Fnatic, but their ideas were really good, their coordination was on point. MW's era is the truth. I think this team will win, and I think it'll be pretty one-sided.
Yeah, I think they will win, but I'm curious to see by how dominant they are, because I do think they could be the dark horse in NA that no one's really talking about. Like, maybe they'll match up well against 100 Thieves Sentinels. Who knows? Yeah, we got the Plat Chat guarantee for Furia over Crew Esports, and the next match is Loud versus Made in Brazil, and we got another guarantee.
Oh, what the fuck?
Oh my god, I wasn't even ready for that.
I was scratching my fucking eye.
What the fuck? You just let it rip.
This is, in my
Jesus.
opinion, this is the most one-sided match of the week. It's Brazil
Can't
versus
wait to see that one
Brazil.
on Reddit.
But
Fuck's
you
sake.
got one of the best teams in the world versus probably the worst Brazilian team of the three. So
Yeah.
They definitely look the poorest, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that with some more time, MIBR will, have improved, just given obviously the coaching staff that they have. But it was an unfortunate look. But even with improvements, I think, given what we saw from Loud at Lock-In, you would be a madman to say anything other than Loud here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt like MIBR, they were a little bit in the ragu spaghetti sauce in their game against Talon. I felt like they played two close games that I think both of their maps were winnable for them, but I felt like in the later parts of the game, it felt like their IGL kind of was running out of ideas and like doing the same things over and over again. Like on their Haven thing, I remember them going for like similar site executes like multiple rounds in a row on their attacking side that kind of kept falling apart, and then Talon built this big lead up, and they never really managed to recoup from that, which was a very worrying sign. When they did get timeouts though from Bazooka, they were able to come up with some new ideas and help out. It's just, for me, a question of, is there still enough time to develop this talent into a team that can compete? Obviously, Heat's going to be good. FRZ is going to be solid. He's always been solid. But being the IGL, and also now playing against the best team from your home country, and playing against not just that, but probably the squad who has made like some of the best improvements in the offseason, is going to be such a difficult task. Yeah, Loud's really good. But the storylines are going to be cool, at least. Like, having Bazooka play against his old team. FRZ used to play with Sadak and kind of, like, looks up to him. Like, it'll be at least, like, an interesting match to be like, oh, that's a cool story. And then, like, watch them get 13-5 twice.
Is there anything else to
I
say?
agree.
I'm just curious to see how both the teams look, I guess, like, outside of Brazil, and how they're going to be playing now that they've been in LA, I suppose. You know, see what the adjustments to gameplay look like in a more like foreign environment, I suppose. But aside from that, yeah, loud W.
All right, so for
This one's honestly, it smells like an upset, doesn't it?
No.
Because it's not obvious.
not
it's not
even
obvious.
close.
It smells like it smells like a bit of an upset. I'm still gonna go with loud, but I'm just
Get
saying
your
if it
fucking
happens.
nose checked. Get your nose checked. What reason does it smell like an upset?
I think
Riddle me that, Brennan.
just to listen, the inside agent that is Bazooka, he knows all about them, you know? He knows every little thing about
They
Loud.
stopped
same
playing with
team,
him,
though.
and they still made a finals appearance and completely changed their style and played completely different compositions.
But this
and
is
are a completely
why
different
it
team.
smells like an upset to me. It's because it's just so fucking unlikely. It's just
Trolling.
there's
Trolling.
no world where it really should be a reality where Loud lose,
God.
but then it's those realities that are most likely.
No,
Take off
that's
the
not
tinfoil hat.
true.
Put it away.
Okay, well, I've said my piece.
Dude, you sound like a conspiracy theorist right now. It's like, there's some really good reasons that JFK got shot. It kind of makes sense. It's a weird story, but it wouldn't be crazy.
Man,
if
we
the
were
CIA
so
was
close
involved.
to making it through an
Like,
entire episode without getting
maybe it
demonetized.
happened.
What
All
is
right.
she saying? What is blood waffling about?
I mean,
What
Does
is
talking about
going
JFK
on?
get you demonetized? That's history.
Dude, we gotta
I'm
go.
just
We
kidding.
gotta
This is
go.
1984
So-
if we get demonetized.
We
The
have
CIA
two more
run YouTube,
matches.
Mimi.
This is
You know
the
that.
second match of Sunday. We got Cloud9 versus the Evil Genius.
Oh God! Whoa!
Whoa.
Kurt, what are you? What's going
You're gonna
on?
pred C9 and fuck off like this? Oh, he's just leaning back.
What are you doing?
Just swiveling in his chair.
All right, I have a lot of twos here. 2 syllables. Upset.
What?
2 players. Rooney and is it Jakey or Jake? But I
We
know
don't
him
even know
as
his name.
Big Bean. They're gonna come in hot. MCE has scouted so many players. He scouted all of the guard we know and love. They're good. They're definitely good enough to make it to the franchise league, but they didn't make it because of the guard.
Huh?
And MCE built that team. He is the coach of Cloud9. He is facing adversity with the rest of his players. He found Big Bean and Rooney, and they're gonna come in hot, and they're
This
gonna
is a
take
hell of a
down
task.
EG 2-1. They're gonna start off. They're gonna get fucking rolled on the first map. I have no idea what it is, and then they're just gonna win the next 2. That is what
So
is
you're
going to
saying
happen.
this is like the EG choke storyline comes back and like Big Bean drops 50?
No, I think EG will look good, but Cloud9 will just look better.
Oh, okay. That
I
makes
love
sense.
EG. Shout out to
will say,
VCT
Kurt,
and
you might be
Potter.
That's some
smelling something
hopium right
now.
there.
Okay, but I'm an EG predator. I think EG is the reasonable choice here. They're a team that has always been kind of the middle of the pack in North America, but they've always looked solid. They've always looked good. Did a little trolling in their game versus talent at lock-in, but young players, nerves, that kind of shit happens. You're playing against a team in Cloud9 that is last minute changing your IGL, slotting in a new player. Neither of these players have played at a tier 1 level at a LAN in person from an audience before. It's an all new environment for them, and the expectation should be that this team will fail. But MCE is the GOAT. I agree. Very good coach. Very good talent scout. I don't think he wanted to drop Ye and Vanity. I think Cloud9 did not even a little bit, not even a modicum, not even a large amount, a humongous quantity of trolling. And they have set these two new players up to fail. Most of the community probably wants them to fail because they probably blame them for Vanity and Ye being out of franchising this year. But Rudy was actually a pretty good player when he played with Sonics, and I think that team had some really good ideas, and I think he could maybe be a good addition to this roster.
Are you changing
and
your
also, no, I'm not changing my pred. Hell no. EG's going to fucking win this match, and they're going to stomp. I'm selling the conspiracy theory with Curtis, because I think it's not unreasonable to buy into the conspiracy theory a little bit here.
You're calling this a conspiracy theory?
She did just mention JFK's assassination. She's definitely on that mindset. But
it's in my mind.
Any money on this show anymore?
I don't know. I just
please become a member. We need.
I
money.
can't see it. I can't see it happening. I don't know. I think the Cloud9 are just. I think that they can be okay. Obviously, coaching staff good. The core players that are still there that didn't get dropped, very good. But I think it's going to take some more time to integrate. So I think it would be a fucking giga choke.
I have two more reasons. Two more players. We got Leaf and Zeppa. They popped the frick off at not champions, at lock-in. They popped off. I forgot what my second point was.
I can add one.
Yeah.
Add it.
Young players like this who have been grinding in tier 2, tier 3, they've got the most to prove, and opportunities like this don't come often.
Sure.
And I think you'll either see two outcomes. They either crash and burn, because like we said, they haven't been set up to succeed particularly well by Cloud9, just in terms of the circumstances, or they exceed all expectations and absolutely gigapound. And I think that Cloud9 also has enough talent, like you said, Kurt, like you mentioned, Leaf Zeppa, and Zelsis as well. I think these guys are talented enough where they actually have that kind of like raw firepower. We saw that at lock-in, and it's actually one of the things that I think is ever so slightly missing from EG. They lean super heavily into set plays, being pretty well prepped, well versed, and I think they struggle when someone hits them in the face really, really hard, which we kind of witness with like a player like Kellogg's, like Heretics, where you had Kellogg's just fucking
Georgimo
for one half. Yeah,
I have one word for you, Georgimo.
Georgimo was a great player.
Christ.
Georgimo was a great player. I'm not gonna lie, he's a great player. I don't know what. Yeah, okay. Georgimo was a great player, but I just wanted to add a bit more fuel to the fire that there could be a reality here. And also, I feel like a team like EG likes to be the underdogs, and this is a circumstance where suddenly it's been flipped on its head. They would have been the underdogs in the initial matchup, and now most people are expecting them to be for Cloud9 to be the underdogs, just because they've essentially added a collegiate player and a tier 2 player to their roster, and they've got rid of that IGL, and they've got rid of the best player of 2022, by the way. They got rid of Ye, by the way.
Yeah, but also we've seen a lot of honeymoon periods before, and this is a perfect opportunity for a honeymoon period. I could totally foresee Cloud9 winning this game and just shitting the bed immediately after. But they're winning this game.
I lost the magnet, so I have to hold this now. Before we move on, I would like to make a public service announcement to the Valorant community.
Sorry?
This is serious. This is serious. For once, this is something that is sincere. Cloud9 did something that was pretty fucking stupid in dropping Vanity and Ye. Let's be honest. It was probably a very bad roster move. And let's also be honest that it kind of fucked over those players. Neither of them are going to get to be in franchising the split. We won't see either of them at an international event. Ye is unsigned. Vanity's the challengers players. Those players do deserve to be playing at this level. And they got trolled by the org. But you need to separate the fact that the org trolled these players from the players that got picked up to replace them and the other members of this team. I don't think this was MCE's choice. I don't think this was any of the players' choice. I think this was an org decision. And I think that they did what they could with the situation. These two players have a fantastic opportunity to prove themselves and to maybe make some history and impress some people. And I think that's really cool. And what the whole situation sucks. Please, 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 please do not take this as an opportunity to hate on Jake or Rooney or shit on them, because they are not the guys that fired Vanity and Ye. It's not their fault. Just, if they play well, give them their fucking sunshine, give them their respect, give them their flowers, because that is impressive in a really hard situation where they've been set up to fail. And if they don't, just be like, okay, that's kind of what we expected.
Mimi W.
But don't shit on them.
Yeah.
I
Common
agree.
Mimi W.
But I buy into the conspiracy that they are the ones that fired Ye and Vanity. So I think that you should not. Fully agree. Don't shit on those players if they lose their match.
Players outside the organization fired them. All right, we have one more match this week. It's the final match. It's the only match on Monday, and it's also a very good match. Leviathan versus NRG.
I'm gonna be honest.
Is it guaranteed?
I think this should have been the match. Though. What?
Oh,
what
the fuck?
No.
Dude, we just filled the
Surprising. I don't think this
stupid
is
narrative that we
shocking.
all love NA so much. We all picked NRG over Leviathan. All of us.
What? There's no,
No, it's
way.
not a guarantee.
No, because it's
No.
not. It's that this match is so much closer.
You said okay, you guys established that it was a guarantee no matter what the first
Yeah.
time we did it.
I'm changing my.
Because that's
You're allowed.
I don't think this is a guarantee. But you guys established the baseline that
is the
any
rule,
4
yeah.
checks is a guarantee.
Oh
so
fuck! This is like the
Jesus.
most likely to go wrong.
yeah.
This is
Sorry,
like
NRG.
absolutely guaranteed to be just fucking farmed for engagements over and over again.
Yeah, our picture
Happy to be
sucked
part of
too. We didn't even look good. Man, that
That's
sucked.
tough.
All right.
I
are we
mean,
gonna talk about the
I don't think that
matchup?
this is. I don't think this is
No.
particularly shocking at all to see that we've all gone for this. Just given the way that Energy played. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Lev kind of crumbled a little bit in their last match at Lock-In, whereas Energy was like persevering the entire way through versus Loud, playing the longest series that we had at the event. So yeah, I think you just kind of have to naturally go with them. I mean, obviously Lev, like I don't want to disrespect them, like they're a fucking incredible team. I just think that Energy has a bit more experience at this level and whatnot, and you know won't back down and won't get disrupted at all in their playstyle. Like if they drop a map or something, I think that they'll just be able to close it out.
I would call them very soft favorites. Very soft to the point where this is like a very close to a coin flip. But Leviathan have got so much going for them, man. I mean, King and Vizino are just like unbelievable anchor players when they're playing on on in particular Ascent. Actually, those guys play off of each other so fucking well. They look really fucking clean. Shy on his new role looks good, honestly, as well. That guy's like kind of being set up to succeed a lot of the time now that he's like the final player in when it comes to a lot of like, you know, when you think about the typical positions, the positions of like a team when they're scaling or execing somewhere, like Shy actually given a bit more freedom to be not the third player in, fourth player in as like an initiator player has actually helped him out quite a bit. And they are a really smart team. They have a ton of great ideas all the time. So are NRG, to be fair. But this is going to be a fucking banger match, and I'm still pissed that we've all went NRG.
Yeah, I'm very sad about that one. I think this match is also like super exciting. I think it's going to be a really interesting like. This is such a cringe thing, we see this every time, but it's going to be like a battle of the minds. Like, King's IGLing at Lock-In actually really impressed me. I think the mid-rounding for this team was good. There was times where they overcooked it. Their Pearl in particular, I felt like sometimes struggled with overdoing the mid-rounds a little bit. But going back to an example of like their Ascent and their Haven, this team is so fantastic at like getting an isolated opening pick and either insta-trading it into a situation that's still advantageous for them or getting Taco to safety because they just set him up so well for these opening engagements and then just playing really intelligent mid-rounds around that. I think part of that is King being a great IGL, part of that is Taco being a great individual, and part of that is also, I think, the impact that Shy has been able to find with this role swap that you were talking about, Bren, on his lurks, on the attacking side. He's very good at holding space, just doing the Sentinel things that you have to do. But it's very different from his old role, so that's super impressive. But Energy as well, like, super impressive team. They played very well at Lock-In. I think the new identity is cool, like the flexing around artists, giving him different roles, not just relying on the Jet. I think there's a case to be made that maybe you lean more into his like Jet star power maps. That is an option for them. But I also like the direction where they're using his flexibility to try different things. And I think FNS as a caller and just the strong support players from the team have managed to leverage this. Also, Som playing. Fucking what a debut at Lock-In, W streamer. It's just going to be a great match. Like I think this is match of the week, actually. I think we capped when we said it was 100 Thieves Sentinels.
I'd agree with that.
Okay. But you still agree
Well,
that 100
retroactive.
or
King could,
that
huh?
You
Yeah,
you
get
still
rolled,
agree
Kirk.
that Energy is going to win this game?
I would
You
put
picked them?
them like 60-40.
Okay.
Maybe.
60-40.
60-40 guaranteed, though.
God, I don't know. It's like 50-50. I was so back and forth on this one.
50-50.
I think it's close to 50-50. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know
We
what to
can flip
think.
a coin.
Why? We've already.
We just want to see what the coin has to say.
Yeah.
Heads is Energy. Tails is Leviathan. Let's flip it.
Holy
All
shit,
right.
it's
Well,
a Plat
the coin
guarantee.
agrees with us. Energy is going to win. That makes it 5.
There's no fucking way.
How the fuck did you
There's
find
just
a
no
biased
fucking
coin?
way.
How did you find an NA biased
There's
coin?
no fucking
Where
way.
did you get it?
All right. So, I wanted to say before we go to Wyatt's Weekly Award, that is it for today, everybody. Before we get to Wyatt's Weekly Award, I wanted to say that we will be doing predictions for EMEA and APAC. We will continue to obviously cover as much as we humanly can, but we just really, really wanted to get an episode out this week, which is why there's a lot of missing things that have happened, and not doing predictions for other regions. So keep that in mind. We're not an NA podcast, but this week we kind of are. All right. Just wanted to get that off my chest. Just some feelings that I've been having. Let's go.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you said that, Cup. People
I
were going
love
to be in
EMEA
shambles.
and Pacific.
Yeah.
I actually do. The games there have actually been really, really good. If you have like no job or anything else, you should just like watch every game because they've actually like all been really, really good. And I think America's is going to be really, really good. And EMEA has been really, really good. Like this format, cool. Me
Could a
like you.
person
Thank you,
watch
Riot
all
Games.
the regions, like
Yeah.
live?
Live?
No.
Not
could a
helpfully.
human do
Absolutely not.
I think
Could you
Sliggy's
watch
basically
all
been
the
doing that.
regions and
We'll see how he does
challengers
with,
NA?
with Americas, but I know that Sliggy's been watching Pacific and
God.
then like turning off his
I mean,
stream and then
when-
tuning back in for EMEA, and then right now I think he was just watching Moist versus G2, which Moist lost, by the way. Anyone cares about
That is
that?
insane.
We were in I want to call it the LCS studio, but it's the Riot Games studio thing now. The place where the Americas League is happening. And we were in like the kitchen place where they have like a smoothie bar. Yes, I love working at a tech company. And no,
still
it's
have
actually
balls?
no balls like to bounce. Oh,
The energy
I
drink.
don't think so. Oh, balls.
They used to have Balls energy drink in the fridge at the Riot
hell are
campus.
you
Well, they have,
I
they have
didn't
Red
see any
Bull.
balls. They have Red Bull now because it gives you wings.
Yeah, but they
like,
used to have balls. Do they have balls?
They don't have balls anymore. Riot took the balls away.
God damn it!
They're sponsored by Red Bull and like everything, aren't they? Why
Yeah,
would
Red
they
Bull.
so.
Red Bull took the balls away.
Well, because sometimes maybe you want to drink something that isn't a Red Bull.
No,
that
you'll
also
only
gives
drink
you
Red
energy.
No. The only thing you drink that's not Red Bull is Heineken 0.0.
Yeah, there's a lot
from the
of
Heineken
Heineken in the
0.0
Riot
ice
offices.
box.
It kind of smells, but if you like Heineken, it's all right.
The office or the
0.0.
Heineken or both.
Both.
What smells? Okay.
Both.
It's alcohol free. Don't
Yeah,
worry.
It's alcohol free. Heineken
sure.
0.0.
of course.
Icebox.
All right.
What
let's
was I
get
going to say? What was my point? Oh, I had a point. I had a point.
Smoothie
Smoothie
bar
bar.
and
On the TV, they had a League of Legends stream going on where a guy was co-streaming just in bed. Just sleeping in bed. And I think that more Valorant co-streamers should do that, honestly.
Shroud did that.
Did he?
You
Oh
remember?
yeah.
Oh,
People
I
were
don't
really
know,
upset about that.
We woke up to like fucking, I don't know, throw seeds at our field and milk the cows at like 5 in the morning for the Berlin event. Was it the Berlin event in
Yep.
2021?
One of them,
Holy
yeah.
shit, that was so early. And then I think we were the only ones co-streaming along with Shroud because no one wanted to wake up that early. And you tune into Shroud stream and he's just sleeping. He was just snoozing. He was just kipping.
Like
Yeah,
in his
nice.
gamer chair, or did he like set up a camera for
I think
his
he was
bed?
on the couch.
Yeah, he was on the
That's
couch.
kind of awesome.
He looked
Yeah.
very comfortable. He was drinking milk.
I mean, Mimi started this stream in the bed. Why is my camera
Yeah.
frozen?
I don't know.
There we go.
No, it's unfrozen.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm ready for bed though. Can
I'm
we
ready
wrap,
for
please?
bed, but before we sign off, let's do.
Oh god.
Executive decision this week. The award, it's going to the Lake Travis U6 2011 Fall Soccer Champions, baby. They held it down for Texas, you know what I'm saying? Goals only, big goals, won the grand finals. Fuck you talking about?
I noticed that as soon as I pressed the button, we just like our internet tanked, so we may have missed the beginning of that. But the Wyatt Sleepy Award, it apparently got vetoed by Wyatt in the video there to the Lake Travis U6 2011 Youth Soccer Champions. So they are going to win the Wyatt Sleepy Award. I actually had two people in mind that are not going to win the award because the Lake Travis U6 2011 Youth
Honorable
Soccer
mentions.
Champions. But the honor mentions are Rivington for giving me a place to live. I drove here from Austin, Texas to LA. I showed up and he cooked me a meal like 11 o'clock. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I drove 23 hours to, I took a stop in Tucson. It was actually a very nice drive. So shout out to Riv. Also shout out to Ito who helped build this run of show, who is actually also living with us as well. So big shout out to them, but they are not the winners of Wyatt's Weekly Award. Shout out to Lake Travis U6 2011 Youth Soccer Champions.
Woo!
Well deserved.
Let's
well deserved.
Good goals,
Flip and
boys.
go.
Good goals, boys.
Yeah.
Good
How,
goals.
how
good
old
goals.
do you think they are now? If they were like 5 at the time, they must be like 9, 9, 11.
Probably like 20.
I mean,
They're
the
like
game was
18 now.
recent.
Wait, they're like our target audience now.
Holy schnipes.
Wait, guys, if you're from Lake Travis, find me the U6 soccer team. Where are they? Have them watch this podcast. Let them see their appreciation.
All right. Jesus.
Can you
Jesus
imagine
Christ.
if Can you imagine if you were part of that team and you're watching this podcast now, and that just
I would
happened?
not want to identify myself after what I just
You
witnessed.
would think you were part of a simulation. Like that would alter my mind if that happened. Like there's just no fucking way.
You would become the main character. if
It's
that
too
happened.
specific. It's too specific. You would have to like lock me up. I just don't know how I would be able to go about in the world anymore. It's so fucking specific.
I love your room, Bren. It looks so beautiful.
Thank you. I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, I'm trying to speed this along. Hopefully this episode was fun to listen to. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys did too. If you enjoyed this episode, please comment after the live stream ends. I enjoyed this episode. Thanks a lot for doing it. And then put like the pants emoji. That's how we know.
Put it in
you're
your
a
own
real
words, though. Put it in your own words so we don't
No,
get.
you have to verbatim write that.
No.
No.
No, we
Put
won't
it in
get.
your own. I think that's.
We already
bad.
got
There is no
demonetized, it's
autonomy
fine.
here. You must obey.
All right, we're out.
Also,
Thank you.
Wait, guys, make sure to
Bye.
click the member button so we can talk about JFK's assassination on the podcast and still make money from this.
Yep.
So do that.
It's true.
Oh, yeah.
It's true. It's true.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Always a pleasure.